messieurs and mademoiselles, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now, we invite you to relax. Let's pull up a chair as the elementary proudly presents some learning. Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Take your child by the hand, Sherry, and we'll provide the rest. Reading, phonics, fluency, improve skills we guarantee. Try the new stuff, it's stupendous. Don't believe me, ask the students. They can sing, they'll have fun. Reading skills are number one, and the learning here is never second best. Go on, unfold your mind. Take a glance and find you'll be our guest. We are guest, be our guest. Reading cubes, learning play, dice and letters, hip hooray. We'll prepare and learn with flair, a learning cabaret. You're on board and you've shared, but the meeting's all prepared. No one's gloomy or complaining while the teacher's entertaining. We tell jokes, I do tricks with my future reading tips, and it's all in perfect taste that you can get. Reading is a gas, you've won your own free pass to be our guest. If you're stressed, it's shared reading we suggest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest, please be our guest.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Inkra, and I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Northridge Local Schools. Together with Milton-Union and Bradford Schools, we are so thankful you are spending time with us tonight for this virtual literacy event. Before I hand it over to Rush Rogers, we have a few housekeeping items. Your cameras are turned off and your microphones are muted. This is going to be recorded and will be posted to each district's website and our social media for future viewing. We will have about 5 minutes at the end for a Q&A with Rush about the activities that she is showing us tonight. You can type your questions in the chat box below. There will be a short survey after the session ends, so please take a couple minutes to complete that so we can use your feedback as we plan our future virtual literacy events. All right, Rush, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, good evening and welcome to my kitchen. It's my hope that you will gather your kids and their friends around your kitchen table. So as a grandmother and a mother and a lover of books, I'm glad to have us share this evening and talk about some things. The first thing I want to talk to you about is read alouds. And I know you're thinking to yourself, wait, my child reads. Why would I read to my child? But you would read to your child because I'm going to talk to you a lot in these next 6 weeks about building vocabulary, because what makes kids good readers, talkers, and writers is the depth and breadth of their vocabulary. So read alouds are as important for people who read as for people who don't. They are a shared activity that allow you and me to have strong conversations with our children, very positive, building relationships kind of talks. So read alouds. I have a chapter book here called Mason Buttle, which is a fabulous read. And I'm reading it in person with a group of folks who are readers, and we're working a whole lot on some understanding the characters and how would the characters say that, what do you think he's thinking, and that kind of talk with this one. And we meet in person at lunchtime once a week. I have another group, and I meet with them at lunchtime on a Zoom. I know a question came up when you had Lisa on Tuesday about how do I do this with my friends? How do I share books with my friends? So I have a group that I meet on Zoom, and I've been reading How to Tame Your Monkeys and Who Can Help Me, and the whole series. Since we went into the pandemic and we were home alone and we were trying to deal with all the feelings that went around being in the pandemic, we read one of these a week, and we talked about which of those things we felt and what made us feel that way. And if you want to do that and kind of get a feel, ease on into those talks about how we feel and how we learn. I know that Lisa Combs has each one of these books that she's read aloud on her YouTube channel. So I'm sure she will lead you to that. I want to lead you to that because if you're not really comfortable having the discussion or reading the book, watching Lisa do it, I think might be very helpful. And I found them to be very, very helpful. Also, if you like science experiments, you can read that. If you've done like lots of people in the pandemic and you want to do recipes, that works too. The read aloud is important. My first experience with read aloud was when I was a child. And when I went to my grandfather's house, he always read a chapter before I went home. That was kind of how we eased on down before I went home. And he read all 8 books of the 5 Little Peppers. So my experience with my grandchildren is that I read with them before I leave. We settle down. It's kind of our see how we say goodbye kind of a routine. So what do you read? You read whatever fills your spirit. Will post after we talk here today, lists of ideas for read alouds for 3rd grade, for 4th grade, and for 5th grade. So that'll give you some ideas. Your school librarian will give you some ideas. Your community librarian will give you some ideas, but you read whatever. You can read, have your 5th grader read to his 3rd grade sibling, whatever it is that he wants to read. You can have the 5th grader read the 3rd grader's book to him so he gets the idea of the language patterns and the way that that character would say those things. One of my books in Mason, it talks about that he wasn't being a wise cracker. That wasn't a smart remark. So how do we decide what's smart? When is something respectful? When is it a wise crack? When is it smart? That kind of discussion. So you can use any book that the librarian suggests to you, any book. The kids that went with me last year, we used to follow an author or follow an illustrator. Through the pandemic, I followed Lisa with my group. You can you go into any library and they've got those books on the tops. Pick one you like and start. You can start anywhere. You can read before children go to bed. You can read while you're fixing dinner. You can read while you're sitting outside the doctor's office for a doctor's appointment, while you're waiting in line for drop off. You can read anywhere you want. I put some cubes in your kit and they help you figure out the purpose of your reading. So the one for tonight is find and define an unfamiliar word, a new word. And the other one, which really works very well on Lisa's book on how to tame your monkeys, is what character are you most like? When you and I read, we read for a purpose. So the dice are to have you roll it out before you do a read along, and it helps you focus. Am I thinking about the setting? Am I thinking about the characters? Am I thinking about the problem? So read alouds are really very important. And I highly recommend them. And you saw in the pictures that we saw before, teachers doing read alouds, but every child needs 5 adults in their world that care about them, engage with them, and have conversations with them. So that may be your babysitter, your older sibling, it may be grandma, it may be whomever, somebody to read aloud. The other issue that we're going to talk about in terms of vocabulary is what I call grab a word. So you're finding words that somebody else has read or you read that you find really exciting. It's a new word. It's a fun word. It's a new use of an old word. So I went through my book here and I pulled a couple. Now you can only put them in your bag if you can use a sentence for them. So my first one was derogatory. They said that the boy said that and it was derogatory. I don't like it. It's derogatory. I shrug. Derogatory must mean bad is the sentence. Okay, so I grabbed another word. crumble down. This was his house. It was a crumble down. I think about the crumble down house. We need to do some work on it. I think it's falling apart. And then the next one is sequence. And when I think about sequence in math. But this is sequence in writing. And he's talking about he's got to tell his story and he's got to tell it in sequence. He's got to remember sequence. That was a new way of using that word for me. Trifecta. This boy in the book has a trifecta. He sweats too much. He struggles to read and he struggles to write. And his mama thinks that's the trifecta. And lastly, domain. Grandma's domain. The kitchen is grandma's domain. That means don't muck around in grandma's kitchen. So my board, that looks like your board, is a magnetic board. So I can hang it on my refrigerator and capture these words. The other word that jumped out at me was crabs. And he said that his sister crabs about how heavy he walks. That's not like crabs on the water. That's like she nags at him. She whines, she complains, crabs. Okay, so word grab. Post your whiteboard on your refrigerator or lay it on the counter and just add those new words, fun words, and words that have a new meaning, okay? And last but not least, on Tuesday, if you were with us on Tuesday, you learned to build words with beginning and ending letters. I'd like to suggest that we can build words with prefixes. So what I do here is I randomly pick. Today I picked pre. And the guy who chose to sit beside me in the car holds the whiteboard. And the guy in the back has the cards, okay? So with pre, we might come up with pre-game, all that fun you have before the game. Or prevent, that's when you grab your little brother before he runs out in the street. Precaution, that's when mom gives you gloves and a hat to keep you from getting cold after practice, okay? So you throw out the word, they brainstorm the words they already own, and you put them on a list and you put them on your cards. I have a big card that has all the words we brainstormed on pre. And then I have the small one for the guy in the back seat because he's writing the word down, or she, and the sentence that proves that I own that word. Now, moms, grandmas, it's not enough to get it on my board or get it on my cards. We have to get it into our conversations. They have to use that word when they talk to us. We need to use that word when we talk to them. It needs to be, they have to be able to read it, they have to be able to talk it, or they won't be able to write it. Okay, so we want to put them on, gather them all up. We want to make sure we have the cards and the sentences, and we can keep adding sentences. If recess means go out and play, great. Then when I find a cave and it has a recessed wall, and that means it goes in a way. It's a breakout from the wall. Then I add that sentence to the resource card. So bottom line here, we're going to read aloud and we're going to go on a word search. We're really going to look for words that fascinate us, and then we're going to own them. And we're going to look at ways we can build words, and then we will be able to take them apart and use them in a different way. So I put together for you a PowerPoint so you can go back and look at this. And I put together a list of read alouds so you'll be able to read. So read, read, read. But you only need to read 10 minutes, 5 minutes at a time. You just never go anywhere without a book. It's like going to school in your underwear. Now in pandemic, we might go to school in our sleepwear, but we should never go anywhere without a book. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rush. If anybody has any questions or comments, please type those into the Q&A down at the bottom. We'll give folks just a couple minutes there if anybody has any questions to write those in there. Rush, you said while people are typing, if they have questions, you said that you have a PowerPoint that'll be on, I know it's on Milton-Union's.
It'll be on all, I'm
all the
hoping it's going to be
districts'
on all your websites.
websites. Yep.
And then, because I wasn't sure any book would do, but if you said to yourself, I want to get a book that really fits my kid, they're interested in this and this and this. And I would go to the school library, I would go to my neighborhood library. I would go on, I Googled good read aloud lists. And that's where I got the ones that I gave you. But yes, they should be on all three websites.
Yes, lots of great ideas. Simple, easy things that you can do. Yes, Rush, sorry.
Also to help, no, you're fine. I did also to help out with this because sometimes I overwhelm and you think of something you'd like to say to me after. So on that PowerPoint is my rushcohenrogers@gmail.com. You can send me an exciting word. You can send me a question. You can ask me what kind, how your cubes work and how you would work that into the conversation. You can keep in contact with me between.
Checking.
Did I tell
so somebody asked a great question. So does something get submitted to his teacher on this, or is this strictly for home use? So these are activities that you can do at home. But speaking of sending something to teachers, we are encouraging folks that if you are using the cubes at home, take a picture of your family using that during your family reading time. Send those pictures to your child's teacher or the building principal, and the pictures will be added to the Be Our Guest video at the beginning. And so those pictures will be updated with all of the new pictures that we get of families playing the games and using the resources at home. So definitely get those pictures in to your teacher, your child's teachers.
And I think if you ask them, they'll share read aloud choices. They'll tell you which ones they are reading, which ones they have read. I feel anything you share there will only build a bond and make it easier for your child to talk to their teacher about the book they've read or the book they're reading.
Absolutely.
I aimed at, this is around your kitchen table, I aimed at you being able to start these. What happened at school today? You're at the age where nothing, okay? And so this allows you to say, hey, let's read, let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about how we're feeling. Let's talk about what you're interested in. I mean, right now we're coming out of basketball season, but we could be interested in basketball and we could be reading about people who have done well at it. I have one who just loves to build. So we do a lot of 4-H where we read how you build that. We read the models, we read the words, we do the step-by-steps. That's her thing. The other one is much more of a reader, and she suggests the books we read. So I think on the long haul for you, this is a parent, how do you engage with your child to build their vocabulary and to increase the richness of their conversation, of their explanations and persuasions, and for their writing? Because in order to learn, they just need to be increasing this vocabulary, and you can help with that in 10-minute spurts.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we are getting to about the 20-minute mark. So I just want to thank Rush again so much for the great, simple ideas. That wraps up this event tonight. Remember to send those pictures in to your child's teacher or to the building principal. And another quick reminder, there will be that short survey at the end as soon as we get logged off. So be sure that you provide us some great feedback about how this went tonight and for our next future events. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great evening. And we hope you'll join us next Thursday at 7 to learn another literacy activity with Rush. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.